Albert Fish was born on May 19, 1870, in Washington, D.C. His full name was Hamilton Howard Fish, but he would later go by Albert, taking the name of a dead sibling to hide from teasing at school. Nicknamed the Gray Man, the Werewolf, of Wisteria, and the Brooklyn Vampire, Fish became one of the most horrific and disturbing serial killers in American history. Fish came from a deeply unstable family. His father, Randall Fish, was 75 years old when Albert was born, and died when Albert was only 5. His mother, Ellen, was left unable to care for him, so she placed him in St. John's Orphanage, where Fish spent years being physically and emotionally abused. He later claimed that these beatings made him associate pain with pleasure, and that he began to enjoy being whipped, which would evolve into violent sexual fantasies as he grew older. From an early age, Fish displayed deeply disturbing behavior. He would stick needles under his skin, eat feces, and drink urine. He began visiting public bathhouses so he could watch boys undress, which became a lifelong obsession. By his 20s, he was working as a house painter and began traveling across the country, committing sexual assaults on young boys, especially those who were mentally challenged or African American, believing they would be less likely to be missed or reported. Fish married in 1898 and had 6 children, but his dark desires never stopped. He engaged in self-harm, cannibalism, and sadomasochism, and developed a taste for raw meat, often sharing it with his children, who never realized the true nature of what they were eating. His first known murders began in the 1910s, but Fish claimed to have killed over 100 children, though only a few cases were confirmed. He would lure children into abandoned houses, torture them, and eventually kill and eat parts of their bodies. He often used homemade tools like meat cleavers, saws, and small knives, but his most infamous crime occurred in 1928 when he abducted 10-year-old Grace Budd. Fish had originally planned to kill her older brother Edward, whom he met after responding to a fake job ad. But when he saw Grace, he changed his mind. Fish went to the Budd household, dressed in a suit, claiming to be a wealthy farmer named Frank Howard. He gained the trust of the family and eventually convinced them to let Grace accompany him to a supposed birthday party for his niece. She never came back. What happened next is one of the most chilling confessions in criminal history. 6 years later, in 1934, the Budd family received a letter from Fish. In it, he detailed the entire murder and cannibalization of Grace. He described how he took her to a house, strangled her, and cut her body into pieces. He then cooked parts of her flesh in a stew and ate her over several days. The letter was so graphic and disturbing that it shocked even experienced investigators. Police tracked the letter to a boarding house where Fish had stayed. When they arrested him, they discovered a dozen sewing needles embedded in his pelvis, which he had inserted himself for pleasure. During questioning, Fish confessed to multiple murders, including that of Francis McDonald, a 9-year-old boy, and Billy Gaffney, a 4-year-old whose body was never found. Fish admitted to drinking their blood and eating their flesh, describing every detail with calmness and satisfaction. Albert Fish stood trial in March 1935. Courtroom was horrified by the testimony. His defense argued that he was criminally insane, citing his obsession with religion, self-mutilation, and voices telling him to kill. However, the jury found him legally sane and guilty. He was sentenced to death by electric chair. On January 16, 1936, Albert Fish was executed at Sing Sing Prison in New York. He was 65 years old. According to the prison officials, the electric chair malfunctioned due to the needles in his body, though this detail is debated. His final words were simple: "I don't even know why I'm here." Albert Fish's crimes remain among the most sadistic and twisted ever recorded. He was not just a killer. He was a predator who turned religion, pain, and innocence into tools of horror. His legacy is not just one of death, but of terror that still echoes in every parent's worst nightmare.